So you guys unmute yourselves so we can dive right into this conversation. We're going to get started talking about Ice Cube contract with America. How many of you all are familiar with this story?
Pretty
Yes.
familiar.
Yeah, I read about it.
So before we dive right in, we're going to have everyone to introduce themselves.
Well, my name is Pat Smith, and I hail from here in Jackson. Glad to be on the show tonight.
Next up.
I think Stephanie is still muted, so I'll go ahead. I'm Representative John Faulkner from Holly Springs, Mississippi, and I'm glad to be on with you guys tonight.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Curtis Nichols, and I am a Mississippi transplant from other places, and I'm glad to be here tonight.
I'm Jay Structure from right here in Jackson, Mississippi.
Is that everyone?
Miss Carol.
I think Carolyn is muted.
Yes, I was muted. Hey, I'm Carol Redfield Mims, and I'm from the Central Hines area. I think she may be having some technical difficulties. So if you haven't introduced yourself yet, go ahead and do it. Pat, have you gone
I
yet?
did. I did.
Oh,
I think she would like us to jump into this first topic, or we have someone else just joined in. Miss Roshunda Allen, would you like to introduce yourself?
I did, but I'll do it again. Hey,
Okay.
everyone. My name is Rashonda Harris Allen, originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I live here in Hinds County.
Great, great. So the first topic that she has for us is the Ice Cube's the the I'm trying not to mess up the title that he has for it, but it's the contract with
Mhm.
America, Black contract with
Right.
America. Does anybody want to start speaking about that?
I have 2 cents about it. I guess when I read over it, I was amazed at first him not going to um, the Black activists, which who
Hmm.
were already making a contract for Black America. He didn't consult with them, and being though he said himself that he was just really getting into politics this year and so close to the election. I just think that that was not used wisely. And I think a man of his caliber, especially his education, he should know better. I think that even with that being said, it appealed to so many African American males. And I'm not saying that it's all of them, but it's those that fit in that certain category who are more concerned about Black business owners, entrepreneurs, rather than Trump himself. So I think it's going to appease to them from that standpoint. And they used Trump used the platform to dive right in that, and it gave him that leeway. And so, from my observation, looking at it right now, 17% of the African American males are really voting for Trump. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
sad.
I think that we have to be more responsible and listen to the wisdom of the elders. It's okay to have a position, but when you're trying to take a position, particularly if it's something you have not been doing before, we need to listen to the wisdom of the elders, at least to get some sense of guidance. Not to necessarily say change your opinion or whatever, but just to get some guidance so that you can make intelligible and good decisions. Because again, a person of his stature, uh, you have a lot of people that he can influence, and we just want to make sure they're getting the right influence.
Absolutely.
And I want to piggyback off of when you said that his influence. Yes, it's true that politicians have used the media to change the minds of many Americans. And one of the things that I noted when the way he did it, looking at the contract itself, it looks like it was written by maybe a fifth grader. It has
Mm-hmm.
no context to it. Like,
No,
who are
no,
these
yeah.
supposed people that are going to get the money and the loans? I mean, just be honest. How many Black African American men or entrepreneurs actually qualify for it? You know,
Right.
it's definitely if it's going to be rated on the same credit institution that we have now in place. So I just think it has no context. We don't know who's going to be doing what with the money that was said to be given. And Trump, being a known person for telling just he does not tell the truth, I just wouldn't count on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just want to speak from the point of being an African American male and an entrepreneur. No, I personally have not seen the contract or read the contract, but I stumbled upon the interview on last night where Ice Cube was attempting to redeem himself or
Mm-hmm.
let people know that, hey, I'm not going this way or that way, but I'm willing to work with whomever wants to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me as an African American male and an entrepreneur, I just don't think that you can, piss on me and tell me it's raining. And I say that to say that just because you decide that you have a plan for America, for black men, black people with America, does not mean that you speak for me. So that's all I want to say on that.
Well, I'll jump in now. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Um, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I would just add by saying Ice Cube, by his own admission, said again that he just started to pay attention to politics this year. So, and he's late, to the party already. And
Retarded.
right, so yes, right. So I think the timing of this plan is bad, and it never seems to amaze me how we always find a way to get in our own way.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
it was mentioned earlier. I think Charles said something about it. In 2016, the African American support for Trump was 14%,
Right.
and now it's up 17%. Now it's really weird and strange to me when you look at what the president has done. You look at his record. How would you suggest that the percentage of support will go up?
Right.
But when the president comes out and says that I've done more for black folk than any president in the history of this country, he's a good salesman. He's a good salesperson, and he's a really good liar. And so somebody is listening to that. If you see the numbers going up, that means somebody's listening. So for our own people, Ice Cube, and it's also Puff Daddy and 50 Cent has got in on the game. When those kind of guys with that type of influence comes out, it's only going to hurt us in the long run.
Right.
Right. And when you said the voting percentage has risen, it has. I was looking up earlier, I read in the polling at Harvard Kennedy School for Government Institute that voters between 18 and 30 is where they're seeing, and it's in African American males, not women. And the question we need to be asking ourselves, what do they think? So I kind of read a little bit, and I asked a couple of people that I know that are entrepreneurs. Well, they will say that Trump is racist. They will say that. But then
Yes.
they worry more about them making more money now than they ever done before, being a black person, an entrepreneur. So I'm saying in that category, they're not tied to anything being a Democrat or Republican. They don't care. They only care about, is this going to feed my family? And so I think that that's where it comes in, that mind frame, that mindset. And to be honest, what type of platform has the Democratic Party set for those African American males in that age group, 18 to 30, to make them interested? Like, what is he saying right now? And I don't see much language on that. So again, that age range, they're not tied to a party anymore.
I think it's important. I'm Stephanie Bundle, and I'm so glad to be here today. And I'm always on the teacher's platform. And the thing that I keep telling you, it's important not to have contempt prior to thorough investigation. Thank you all for your investigation. I see when you spoke about Ice Cube being new to politics, here's what I can appreciate, that he stepped in. Now, what he stepped in and did was prior to thorough investigation. So, but it's important that we address the issue. And what Carol was saying in terms of how are we appealing to the masses. And I could be wrong because I come in a student today. I come in teachable. We're going in a direction, that's clear. I'm looking at the opposition. I'm just coming to you as a teacher and a citizen. I'm looking at what's happening. We're going down a path that we should not be going down. We've already been down this path. We're returning to something that we were supposed to already overcome. And I feel like we're going backwards. So when a student asks me, well, why should I vote? Now, if you vote, you may not get everything you want. Don't vote, you're going to lose everything you got. So we may
Yes.
have to begin by changing direction. We may not be at an appeal state. I can't say I'm thoroughly impressed, but I can say I am fully convinced that where we're going is not where I want to go. And I don't want my community to go. I don't want my students to go there. And I don't want my family to go there. I don't want my people to go there. I don't even want humanity to go there. So based on that and teaching my students that when you see something going somewhere, the first thing you got to do is turn around. Yeah, after you turn around, we may have to do some work trying to carve a path in a different direction. But first of all, we got to turn around. And I see a missing of that. I don't see anything. I'm not going to vote at all. I'm like, if you don't do something, something else is going to happen.
Yes.
And looking at it now, I can't tell you we got Jesus coming to the White House no matter how you vote. If you're a church going person, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is the direction that we're going. Look at what's happening. That's what we got in leadership now. If you want that to keep happening, then you vote for that or you don't vote at all. But what's happening, I'm learning, is benefiting some of our people, but then the priorities could be out of place. And do they have humanity in mind? And do we have a conversation about who has who voting for who has the greatest good of humanity in mind? Ice Cube brought up some issues that we need to face, and somebody needed to know that these issues are some of the issues we face, but who he's presenting them to and on whose behalf he's speaking, that's the part we don't know. Well, he's not speaking on my behalf. I don't remember him talking to me about that. So, those are some of the key things, the key things that I'm trying to teach students, even in the face of uncertainty and discouragement.
We lost your audio.
I'm here, so I can actually respond to Stephanie if you may. And I see the big gap that you're kind of thinking, like, what are we thinking? And just by looking and reading myself, one of the things I noticed back in the election when President Obama ran, we came out to vote because it was something that we could look up to. So we had, like you said, humanity on one side and somebody we didn't trust on the other side. So we made that happen because it was something we didn't see before, and we really just wanted it to happen for the first time, having an African-American president. But now we have two opponents. You damn if you do, and some say you damn if you don't. So then what I look at now, being in the midst of a pandemic, people are already fretting on losing their business, and so many people have lost their business. Who do you think that they would choose? That's why I said this right here. I'm choosing a person who is known to make money. And who is that? Trump. So when you think about those age ranges, 18 to 30, those are the ones that came up on Common Core. So they think outside the box. They're no longer thinking about, I owe this to my elders, because we don't teach Black history in school. I just don't see many schools that's doing it. So they don't understand what they're connected to. So yes, the conversation should have happened, and I think it was on us, my bad, our people that don't preach this enough and don't communicate enough. 18 to 30 is also that age range when you see the crime, they fit right into that category. So what has happened, they're not even connected to their elders, not even their mothers or grandmothers. They have no connection.
Absolutely.
So when you vote like that, you vote with that process in mind. They're no longer us. We're the last of our kind. For these kids, you're going to have to show me that you're going to help me get out of the situation I'm in. You're going to have to show me that I can make money under your leadership. That's all that they care about, security. Yeah. And so when you look at those voters changing sides like that, that's the argument that we have to convince them of, because we know the real when we vote for him. We know that it's potentially that we're not getting anything, because if you look at the contract, it's a contract. He never did say he was going to do it.
Yeah, let me jump in again, Curtis, if I can. But my response to that is, if you're talking about the 18 to 30-year-old, that we need to teach and educate. I can follow you on that. But the topic is we have Ice Cube, again, throw in 50 Cents, throw in Puff Daddy, and Kanye West. They all in their 40s and older.
Right.
So we have them giving that 18 to 30-year-old group you're talking about misinformation.
Right.
It's their responsibility to make sure that they do their homework about what they're
That's right.
talking about prior to putting it out there, because they are able to still have a huge influence over that target group that you're talking about. So it's incumbent upon them to make sure they have the right information that they're going to come out and talk to our
That's
people.
right.
Right.
And
I
if
mean,
I may
even
just say, it is so important, and I can't say this enough. We have to be responsible with our information. Even when I think it was Shaquille O'Neal came out and said this was the first year he voted or something, was that really helpful to share that information if you're looking at the ones that have look at him as a role model, and it's like, well, maybe I wait till I'm 40 to vote. So we have to be responsible with the information. That's all I'm saying, because every one of us on this earth has somebody that's looking at you, that wants to be like you, that emulates you, and the things you do and don't do will affect them. They'll do it just because you did it.
yeah,
So we just have to be responsible.
even with the 50 Cent so-called endorsement, he said,
Yeah.
I'll vote for Trump because I don't want to pay taxes.
Okay, let me come in with another question. What I'm finding is we say they should be responsible, but oh my gosh, they're not. They're not doing so. What now? And it's like we always had to face opposition. This is new and improved opposition. So those of us who know to be responsible, it is our job to strategize. And we made the assumption because somebody's famous, they might be smart or they may have wisdom. And what we're getting is something else. We're getting results that we don't want to get. So it's like in the face of that, what's the strategy for us to
Yeah.
combat?
Yes.
What reality do we tell our young men? Just because this guy is famous doesn't make him wise and smart, and he does not have, and maybe he does not have you in mind when he's voting. He has his money in mind. He has
That's
his
right.
millions
He
of
does
lives.
not. He does not have us in mind. He does not
Right,
have us in mind as a
No.
whole. He
Right.
does not. What they
right.
what they all
Right.
have in common are finances.
Right.
That's what they
Right.
all have
Right.
in common for me,
Right.
are finances. Finances
Right.
are the only thing that they have in common and that they want to secure. Forget about this little entrepreneur that's trying to obtain and have.
Right.
I already have. We already have. So let's keep it
Right.
that way. That's what they have in mind for me. And I want to piggyback on something else about humanity. We live in a day and time where there's a gap in humanity. The reason there's a gap in humanity is because there's a generational gap.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you have those such as Ice Cube, such as 50 Cent, who managed to make it, although that there's a gap, who wants to say now, well, let me see what my fellow brothers who have what I have, what are they going to say? What do they have? Let us rally together. Let us put together this contract or plan. For who? For them only. So I say again, they do not speak for me as a African American entrepreneur, male.
Okay. I'm back. I made it home. So, can everyone see me? I hope you can see me and can hear me now. But
Yes.
after hearing about the celebrities and their choice, because that's what it is, it's their choice. It is my opinion that us as African Americans, or regardless of whatever your race is, we still have to educate those who may be stuck in between on, do I follow this person who may be my role model, or do I do what my mom or dad or aunt or uncle or the people around me say I should do, or who I should vote for? So it's up to us that's on this line and other people out there just to educate and do your research. Some people mentioned they didn't do their research, or they may have said they didn't do their homework. Regardless of what it is, we still have the opportunity to help those do their research, to help those educate and teach them, hey, maybe you should vote for this person because they can help us with A, B, C, and D. Because, like, was it Jay Structure that said they're not thinking about what income bracket we are in? They're thinking about what income bracket they are in, and that is the elite. What is the percentage of people actually in that income bracket? Not very many. But do we all know this? So I guess, listening to everyone talk, we still have to go out there, push, and educate. And we just can't always go by what the role model or what the celebrity says, because, like, again, we're not in that tax bracket. We're in a totally different tax bracket. So our needs are completely different from their needs.
Right.
Man,
I think it's the
Carol, you muted.
Oh.
Carol, you on mute.
Yeah.
Because your conversation is real good right now. Look, that age range, 18 to 30, many of you are school teachers on here, you know what I'm talking about. They don't have any positive role models. And that's countless millions of children who were born, into that, in that frame of mind. So they're easily influenced. That's
Right.
number one, very. And you have to look at the money that Trump has been putting into his campaign. He's rallying in Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, Arizona, and Texas. And he's only targeted Latinos and African American males, nobody else. So again, when you want to educate the youngs, this is what you tell them. Okay, this is what they're doing. And if they can easily influence you without you reading or following up and making sure that everything he's saying is true, then anybody can take that quick of advantage of our community. And we have to ask ourselves too, how do you feel as a Black voter? Do you honestly feel that the person that's going to get your vote appreciates it? And when it comes to African American and people of color, I can say totally no way. No way. So that's the type of way that we need to address our youth. Be real. Don't hide anymore. Be open. Invite them in to shadow you, especially if you are doing something that can help them set up a platform to be an entrepreneur or to teach them about the games of life, because we're no longer playing checkers. We need to be playing chess.
Doc?
So I'm enjoying the conversation. I mean, you are doing a good job, sharing, giving your feedback. We really have to have this conversation. We can't let people like Ice Cube speak for us. We have to speak for ourselves. And so I have a clip. Let me see if I could share this clip right quick.
Working with President Trump, rapper and actor Ice Cube says that he is setting the record straight. In a new interview, Cube says he never met with Trump and doesn't endorse either presidential candidate. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell shows us more.
I'm not playing no more of these games, these political games. We're not part of a team.
Rapper Ice Cube speaking out during an interview on CNN, reacting to harsh criticism about his decision to work with President Trump. The backlash starting when Trump advisor Katrina Pearson posted a tweet expressing her appreciation for Ice Cube's willingness to help the administration develop what is being called the Platinum Plan for Black communities. Critics questioning the rap star's motives, noting that in 2018 he released a track with lyrics calling for the arrest of Donald Trump. Ice Cube says he is not endorsing Trump and is open to working with Joe Biden's campaign.
Both campaigns contacted me. Both campaigns wanted to talk to me about the contract with Black America. One campaign said, we love what you have, but let's really dig into it after the election. And one campaign said, we love what you have. Do you mind talking to us about it? And that's what I did.
Ice Cube says he has come up with his own plan for racial justice called the Contract with Black America.
I'm not going there talking about minorities. I'm not going there talking about people of color or diversity or none of that stuff. I'm going there for Black Americans, the ones who are the descendants of slaves.
The rapper also fighting back on social media, saying he is bipartisan.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the
Even after seeing that clip, you guys, whether he meant to harm it or not, like I said, a man of his caliber should know exactly what a platform of that capacity can do with that type of language. And meeting with them just sent a definite rule. Even him implementing that the DMs didn't want to meet with him until after the election was a slap in the face. But even on his page, he puts both of his, he puts both Biden's and Trump's responses to what he actually apparently spoke on the Black community. Again, he did not speak for me. So even being that said, you have that group of minority African-American males who appeal to just that. So what do? I think, in my opinion, I will say again, we have literally dropped the ball, because we can start teaching as young as 3rd, 4th grade, the processes.
But here's my thing. The teaching piece that we're talking about is essential to get our folk up to speed on this whole entire process, right? I think we all agree on that. But that, to me, doesn't give what we're talking about today the pathway. That's not an excuse for Ice Cube doing this. And I understand perhaps why the Democratic Party would say, hey, let's wait to after election, because, hey, man, we got 2 weeks left. They've been campaigning all year long. So Ice Cube, where were you at with this plan 5 months ago? So 2 weeks out, now we're talking about it. Now we're in crunch time. We're going down the final stretch. And hey, check this out. If you look at the polls, Biden and Harris is leading. In all those states, most of those states you talked about, they are leading. Right now, I'm looking at an electoral college map that says if everything stays the same, Biden will get 290 electoral college votes. So they don't need to rock the ship. They can afford to just keep their feet on the gas a little bit and kind of keep on moving. So, but Trump team, in my opinion, would say, hey, Ice Cube, come on over. Let's talk about it right now, because he needs the African-American vote. He's trying to shave off as much as he can. And Ice Cube and 50 Cent and all these guys are being irresponsible, in my opinion, to even give them an opportunity to shave off some of our folks, which is going to happen. I'm hoping, I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think they're being totally irresponsible for even coming out 2 weeks before election and confusing some of our potential voters.
The ballot how many months ago? So they've been trying to, or people have been trying to confuse us from the beginning. So where do we go from there with 2 weeks left?
Right.
Well, really and truly, our people have been confused for 400 years. So where do we go? That's 400 plus years of confusion.
Well, I think from the go, it's called Contract with Black America. However, there are no Black experts that are writing into the contract. There's no one that is expert on housing, no one that's an expert on economic development, no one that's an expert on education. You got to have people, a conglomerate of people that's going to come together and put together a real plan, as opposed to something that's just a couple pages long. And the history, when you're dealing with certain people, you got to look at the history and how they've dealt with people in the past. And this particular individual, his history isn't too good. And you're talking about doing business with someone that has basically been endorsed by white supremacists, and you want him to have a contract with Black America. And as far as the Biden campaign, the contract has to do with people that are in power. And the Democratic Party isn't in power right now. And so there's nothing that they would be able to do until they're in power anyway, which would be hopefully after the election.
You all have to remember to unmute yourselves after you finish talking. I'm muting you so that we won't have that background noise. But this is a really great discussion. You know, how many of you all saw 50 Cent coming out and said that he endorses Trump? Thank you for bringing it up, Ms. Frazier. So what are your thoughts about 50 Cent?
50 Cent pretty much just nailed the head on what I was actually researching. He said he cares more about feeding his family than Trump being racist. So it means he can look past all of that. And in a sense, that when we come to the table to do business, I'm going to still be able to make my money. Because during his campaign or during his reign in the office, I have constantly made money. And that's what they...
And I think, Carol...
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, Carol, I think we all are in agreement with that. It's about where we are and what we can do for ourselves. It's not about me, you, or anybody that's on the line right now. So I do believe we're all in agreement with that. And I'd also saw come across the screen, though, do you think they're being paid, or do you think it's a kickback for endorsing him? Because we really don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We only know what's going on in front of our faces. So, you know, that's something else that was brought to our attention just now that we can think about as well. Is it a kickback? Is somebody getting paid off of this? Is it a collaboration? What is going on with our Black America or with America in general?
You know, I think, again, 50 Cent, just like Ice Cube, is being totally irresponsible. You have misinformation talking about Biden's tax plan. If you look at the tax plan, it talks about raising taxes for people who make over $400,000 a year, which, according to a 2018 census, they say that the average median income is about $33,000. So the masses of folk don't even make that kind of money. It's the top 1% income earners that Biden is talking about taxing. Well, that may be 50 Cent and those kind of guys. So when you say if they're getting a kickback, well, no, they don't necessarily need to get paid to do this. They get paid by endorsing them and them winning and them keep being able to keep making that kind of money without paying taxes for it, without being taxed. And 50 Cent, said that the Trump campaign offered him $500,000.
I have that clip. I'm gonna play that clip.
Then let's play the clip.
Let me play that clip for you all.
Thank you.
F New York. The Knicks never win anyway. I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your effing mind?
Now, it was last year that 50 admitted on the Late Late Show with James Corden that Trump offered him money to make an appearance at his inauguration, and 50 wanted nothing to do with him at that point.
Has any politician ever tried to sort of get your support? Have they ever courted you for support in the past?
During inauguration.
Really? In what way? What did he do?
They offered me $500,000 to go.
You $500,000 spot to play at the inauguration.
No, to come.
Just to be there. Just to turn up.
Wow.
Do y'all believe that?
Wow.
I believe it. I believe it. Absolutely. Absolutely believe it.
I
But
most definitely
as
believe
far
it.
as 50's endorsement, I don't believe it. I think it's 50 likes to troll. But I do believe he was offered money to be there because I do know that Trump pays his crowd to be there as well. We get all these actors auditions and stuff that comes across my email, and some of them for going to Trump campaign speeches.
Well, there you have it.
So
There
I
you
want
have
to
it.
ask you all, since we already know, 50 Cent loves to play on, the media and to get all this attention. Let's switch gears to why do you think black men are supporting Trump? I'm seeing a lot of black men coming out and supporting Trump. Why do you think that is?
Well,
Money.
I personally, who want to go first? I mean, I'll dive right in. I
I say,
think
let
they
let
are
the black
supporting.
man go.
I think that they are supporting Trump because, as I said, there has been confusion for 400 years, and at this point, black people, black men, at this point, and like Carol said, in that age bracket of between 18 and 30, they really do believe that this person, just because he put his name on the bottom of a check during the pandemic, just because he's allowed states to give XYZ amount of income and money to certain businesses and small businesses and all these businesses, they really do in their mind think that this is the way. They really do feel like nobody else has done this. Nobody else has given us 50 cents. Although this that Trump has done for me is not confusing because it's still not 40 acres and a mule, nowhere near. So that's what I believe. They really believe that that he has really done something. That this is really something, and it's not. It's way much deeper for me.
And other black men want to chime in?
I'll just say that I hope that number is not true. Um, I do know that there's a lot of low info people out there, and I don't know that there's people out there that would sell out their mama for a check. I just hope it's not true. That's all I gotta say. I hope it's not true.
Well, Doc, I tell you that Trump is a good salesperson. He's a really good liar, and he speaks to the fears of people. And he can sell you land on the moon. Somebody will buy it, and it's unfortunate that our people are so easily misled. It's unfortunate, and we all on this call know what I'm talking about. And excuse me. Another thing is sometimes when we see a cause or something where the majority of us are supporting, somebody going to go in the opposite direction just because. It's because we just cannot seem to get again out of our own way. But let me pose this to you. Let me say this: when the question is why do black people support Trump? Are we still there?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, we're here.
But now, a bigger question would be when you witness millions of poor white people who turns out in droves to Trump campaigns. Excuse me. and during the pandemic, and applaud him and his policies, even though the policies don't line up with their own beliefs. The question is, if Trump can fool poor white people, because everybody in this country that's poor and that's struggling, that's having a hard time, doesn't look like us. Okay, we make up a small percentage of this country's population. So he's able to sell a lie to a few black folks and millions of poor white folk. So that's just kind of where we are. But the good thing about it, the light at the end of the tunnel is, according to the numbers right now, is just not enough. I think we still be victorious, and we'll be able to come back and do this teaching piece and stuff after November the 3rd. But it's a shame that we are in this place, but I think we're still ahead when it comes to the outcome of the upcoming election.
And I hear everything you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly, but there is a masses out there brewing who are tired of people making commitments to change, and they're not doing anything. At this point, they pretty would try anything simply because of this one thing. We don't listen to them. I think if we acknowledge where folks are coming from and try to understand why people may have a different perspective of Trump now, I think we'll have a better chance in winning them over. But still, in the same time, you have to appeal to them in some manner. So in my question, how are we doing that? And what message is coming across to them?
So I've heard it go both ways. Someone told me, well, I'm voting for Trump because he's a businessman, and that goes back to I think you said, Representative, that he gave us the stimulus check. So people's like, or who said that? Was it Curtis? Someone said it. It could have been Jay Structure. Yeah. But he gave us a stimulus check. He gave us something. So I've had males from all ethnicities say, I'm voting for Trump because he's a businessman. But then I've also had males, black males, or, just anyone say, well, I'm voting for Biden because I want something different. So I'm like, okay, so let's think about it. Is Trump really a businessman that's for the people? Or is he a businessman for himself? And I think that's something that a lot of us who say, I'm going to vote for him, they're not really reading into that. They're looking at what he's done for himself, or maybe I can't even say the people around him, because it's a dictatorship. If he doesn't agree with you, bye. See you later.
Let me ask you this. So I want everybody to say who they are supporting and why.
Biden, Harris.
Easy. Biden, Harris.
And let me take 30 seconds to give my reason why, Doc.
Okay.
It's because I think that they are the best people for the job, just quite frankly. But this election is for the soul of our nation. Hanging in the balance for this election is decency, respect, equality, fairness, right to choose. There's so many things that's hanging in the balance. If we fail to replace Donald Trump, we will not be able to recognize this country 4 more years from now.
I agree.
And I'll say that I'm supporting Biden Harris simply because of what he said, respect. Demoralizing our people for 4 years is what Trump has done. Disrespecting women, that's one of the reasons why I would vote for Biden Harris. The lack of disrespect for people of color is one reason why I would vote for Biden Harris. But the amount of lies, and I'm going to say it strongly, the amount of lies that he tells and the him makes me question their character. So it does, if we want to get healing back, to me, we have to have some type of balance. And I don't see that we're going to get that self-respect that we need and deserve just with Trump. And there's no way that, we can forget what he said and what he's done. And there's no way in my mind that I would believe anything he said based on his past. And it just either way, for any person, political person running for office, to just start talking to people like he's trying to connect with the age group 18 to 30. Why haven't you talked to them in the 4 years that you've been in office? Why haven't you tried to appeal to the Black community other than to send in forces of violence? Why haven't you even talked about, the way that some of these southern states deserve? He doesn't focus on education. And he definitely does not focus on healthcare. Me being a cancer survivor, that's important. That's important. Our elderlies deserve to be taken care of. Our children who come in with disabilities deserve to be taken care of. Our schools deserve to be revamped. We just deserve so much more than a liar. And that's my reason.
I'm going to go and say Biden Harris because I believe in voices. I believe in the voices of the people that live in this country, all of the voices of the people that live in this country. Black people that are, their voices have a say in what happens in this country. People of color have a voice for what happens in this country. We need to be participating parties in how this country is run. This country is not run by the select few. The people, all of the people live here. I think about places like Flint, Michigan, no water, still don't have no water. I'm from Flint. Still don't have, and nobody brings it up. People are getting shot in the back. They're dying at the hands of police. And I'm just saying, and he doesn't acknowledge it. Or they try to kidnap the governor and kill her of Michigan, and he doesn't say a word. I'm like, what kind of decency are we?
He did say a word. He said Michigan needs to open their state back up.
And I
really
didn't say anything about.
That's the only thing you have to say.
Yes, that's what about the lives of the people? What about the Hispanics that are still in cages? We're just not addressing anything. And what about the voices of the disabled? I love campaigns like the Poor People's Campaign. There are a lot of us, and I say us, living in this country. Do we get a voice? Do we get a say? Not today. We haven't been. What about our needs? What about our insurance? What about our health care? What about my mental health? What about, if I go out and get a job being a little senior, just a little senior? How much can I make? Can I even survive? Does anybody care? What programs are out there? What about our young African-American men? Why do we have to teach them to stay alive? Before we teach them manners and, open the door for a young lady. The first thing we're trying to teach them, I'm a mama too. The first thing we're trying to teach our kids is how to stay alive when we walk out the door. I think that our environment can transform. Regarding it's all based on who's leading us. And it starts with the local elections. And we've got to, like you said, education is key. We got to start putting our voices in the city, our voices in the state, so that nationally we won't have to come to this again. But our voices need to be heard and coming together. Even if we have a difference of opinion, I shouldn't be scared for my life when I walk away from you. I should not be scared for my son's life, because now I'm looking at people wondering if they want me alive. I'm in Walmart looking at the lady. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her, and she's checking my groceries out. She don't like who I am as a human and feel free to express that. I'm like, oh, when did we get back to that? You have to have lived long enough to know that I've already been there in the 60s. And here I am again. What happened? I'm voting for voices. I'm voting for all the voices of humanity.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I have to say Biden Harris has my vote. Biden Harris has my vote simply because I believe in everything that my ancestors bled and died for, first and foremost. Secondly, I will have to say that anytime that a person can sit and tell me that what's going on across the world is a hoax and it's a game, And then you turn around and put your fist up and say, I'm a survivor. I made it 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you want potentially my vote out of here. Off with their heads. And I'm done.
I vote for change. I vote for change. I vote for education. I vote for health care. I vote for the poor. I vote for those who have student loans that they'll never be able to pay back because people haven't gotten raises, and I can't even tell you how long it's been. I vote for the children who want to be able to go to school every day who can't because they may be locked in cages on the border. I vote for those who don't have clean drinking water because they still live in cities or they still live in counties where they don't have a system like we would have here in Jackson or maybe like they would have in Detroit. You know, I vote for those people who got sick in Flint, Michigan because of the water crisis. I vote for those who got sick with COVID and can no longer vote because their lives have been lost due to us not preparing the country the way we should have. So you know who I stand for. First name begin with a B. H. Biden Harris.
I heard that. Who's next? We don't want to leave anybody out. Danielle, welcome. We appreciate you joining us. Danielle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. Introduce yourself to the people and tell us who you vote for and why. Danielle having technical difficulties. So, next person.
I think
Can you
He
all
said
hear
it
me
before.
okay?
Yeah.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm having technical difficulties too. My stream keeps going out. That is crazy. I've actually already absentee voted, and Biden Harris definitely got my vote. I'm a proud poll worker. So normally I take the chance to take a little lunch break to go vote, but I anticipate that the poll is not going to probably be in a position to vote to leave this time. But Curtis, as I sit there and look at you, I'm almost moved to tears because I have a 17-year-old son that's 6'2", and I made him go through his closet and throw away every hoodie he owned because I'm afraid that if he goes in a store, as he did before going to the local store, they followed him all through the store, made him leave out because they thought he was trying to take something because he had a hoodie on his head. And so I voted in hopes that our voices can be heard, that our concerns can be heard, that people that need programs and services will have an opportunity to get those services without funds being cut and without caring about the least of those whom the Bible has always taught us is going to be with us all of our days. We have to take care of everybody. And so it's not right that funds get cut. As a social worker for the last over 20 years, looking at services that mental health is so rampant in our community, but all the funds get cut. And we wonder why people are sleeping on the streets because they can't get into mental health facilities and their families can't deal with them and handle them. So I voted hoping that we will get an opportunity to get our voices heard and to see a change in this community. Some of the things we're experiencing now were the things my grandparents talked about when they talked about going through the civil rights struggles and how they had to be concerned about walking out the door and speaking to white people and all that kind of stuff. How are we reverting back to that in 2000 and 20. So we've got to see some kind of change.
Powerful. Who else want to chime in?
Yeah, and let me has everybody had a chance before I come back around?
Curtis.
I
Yeah.
want to just add,
So I'm voting
because
Biden Harris. I'm voting for decency. I'm voting straight blue ticket, to be honest about it. I want change, and it has to do with a lot of different things, everything that everyone else has spoken about. But in addition to that, some of you that know me know my temper, and I don't want to vote for someone that may speak something to some old man or some crazy guy that I might have to hurt. We all have said it before, don't let your president get you hurt, and I don't want to have to hurt anybody. I'm voting straight blue ticket, just as plain as that.
I love it. I love it. You ready, Danielle?
Doc, if I may, I'm sorry, Danielle. I'm sorry.
She still having to go ahead, Faulkner.
Um, just a couple of quick points. The largest and the most powerful voting bloc for the Democratic Party are Black women.
Yep.
Okay, we was talking in the first segment about why do the men support Trump, because men we'll flip flop, back and forth, but our Black women are steady, they're solid, and it just look at what happened in 2018 midterm elections when 100 women was voted into office. But the other thing I want to mention is that when you look at what's important, the top tabletop issues for our country, the Pew Research Center did a study, and they listed the top 12 important issues, and the economy was number one. Over 79% of the country said that the economy is number one, and then that was followed by healthcare at 68%, and then it goes down to Supreme Court, and then number 4 is COVID, and number 5 is violent crime. But then when I look further at the Biden supporters versus the Trump supporters, it is night and day as to what they look at. Now, 84% of the Biden supporters says that healthcare is the number one issue. 88% of Trump supporters says it's the what? What do you think it was? The economy. Because Trump makes sure that the top 1% of this country makes money. During this pandemic, when people were struggling to pay rent and put food on the table and try and survive, millions of folks are drawing unemployment. The top 1% of this country made money, and hundreds of millions of dollars, while the folks like us, our people were struggling just to pay rent. So, of course, Trump people want the economy. And Trump top 5 issues of his supporters, healthcare was nowhere to be found. Healthcare was nowhere to be found in Trump top 5 issues of his supporters. Now, think one last point I'll make, and I'll pause. So when you look at the pandemic, that will explain to you why in the middle of a global pandemic, the president is trying to take away the Affordable Care Act, trying to take health care from millions of Americans in the middle of a pandemic. Because you know why? Because he knows that his supporters do not care about health care, because that top 1%, my friends, tonight can get any kind of health care they want. Like 50 Cent, and when you're making $400,000 a year, you can have any kind of health care you want. So it's not surprising when you look at his supporters, health care is nowhere on the list in the top 5. They don't care about it. Thank you, Doc.
No problem. No problem. So I do want us to talk a little bit about the Mississippi ticket before we run off. Who are you all excited to go to the polls and vote for in Mississippi? I start off while you all
I'm just
mute your phones. I am excited for Latrice Westbrook, my home girl from Holmes County, Lexington, Mississippi. She is running for Supreme Court Justice, and if she wins, she will be the first woman to sit on the Mississippi Supreme Court. So I am excited to cast my vote for Latrice Westbrook.
I'm just looking forward to getting Cindy Hyde out of office. Anybody arrogant enough to say that I don't have to address any of my people, these are the people that I work for every day, but I don't have to address them in a debate. I don't have to say what I'm going to do. I'm just going to win. And that's the type of arrogance, that's the type of disrespect that creates monsters, just like Trump. And for somebody to disrespect you in that manner, saying that I don't even have to address you all, I'm still going to get the votes, I'm not worried, something is wrong with that. So just looking forward to vote her out. I'm ready.
Can I skip past the people and tell you what I'm excited about voting for? 65.
Yes.
And I say that approval for 65. But you know what? The way they have it set up, unless you've seen the ballot or someone has educated you about the ballot, you wouldn't know that you have to vote in two places.
You see if you're for it.
Yes, I can see it. Yeah, if you're for it, you have to vote in two places. And that takes me back to, and Miss Carol, Initiative 42.
Initiative 42, the same.
Initiative 42, the same. Yes. So I'm excited about that because coming from Michigan, where medical marijuana is legal, I can see and I understand how that could be so much of a help for people, especially having a student. She suffers from seizures, and that is one thing her doctor said that would help her because she has epilepsy. So that's going to be a big help. And then again, the flag. We've been fighting over this flag for a long time. You have people who don't even want to bring or didn't want to bring their business to Mississippi due to the Confederate flag. So those are two things that I'm actually excited to see on the ballot, because that does mean that Mississippi is changing. And it may be, small steps at a time, but we are changing.
Right. Anybody else?
For me, it's it's definitely the flag referendum and 65, not 65A, but 65. And that's another thing that voters need to understand too. Just like Ms. Rashonda had said, that you do have to vote in two places. I can't stress that enough. You must vote for approval, and you must vote 65, not 65A.
Very good.
Please, people, let's be educated about the ballot. And last but not least, definitely, Mike is
very good. What you was about to say, Faulkner, Representative?
So just a couple of things I'm excited about the ballot initiatives, and my friends on the call tonight have spoke about 65 and about the flag. I want to say that I was really overwhelmed and moved to be able to be a part of the legislature this year that was able to vote to take that flag down. After the flag has flown over our state for 126 years, and great men, I'm getting chills not just thinking about it. I mean, great men and women whose shoulders we stand on have come before us to try to get that done. And because Mississippi wasn't ready, they was unsuccessful. But however, God put us at this place at this given time to be able to cast a vote. And I tell you, I'll never forget the opportunity to be able to do that for our state. So certainly we're excited about that. And but I want to mention House Concurrent Resolution 47 that hadn't been mentioned tonight. That was a part of our Constitution that was put in place back during the Jim Crow era. And primarily it was to make sure that no African American could hold a statewide position in the state of Mississippi. Okay, because it would require for you to not only get the popular vote, but then you also had to get the majority of the House district votes, which means they would be based upon the legislature, which means that virtually a black person would never be able to be elected into office. So that's on the ballot. House Concurrent Resolution number 47. You want to vote yes. By voting yes means that you erase that old Jim Crow law, and now that will not be a requirement anymore. That is major, my friends. So I'm certainly excited about being able to replace the old Jim Crow law that kept our black people from being able to hold a statewide office. And then finally, let me show you, Doc. Come on, when you get ready.
Go ahead.
Now, see that? Now listen.
Yeah.
I tell folk that if you really care about this ticket right here, the best way to help Biden Harris is by sending Mike Espy to Washington D.C.
Come on.
Okay. Now listen to me good. I told some folks today on the radio show just before I came here in Holly Springs that Biden and Harris have the rest of the country to help them get elected. Chances are they won't win Mississippi, but we got the rest of the country to help them get to the White House. But the only person that can vote for Mike Espy is folks in Mississippi. So we got to turn out, and we can do it. I was with Mike on this past Sunday here in DeSoto County, and there in DeSoto County, and the folks are excited about Mike. So we have a chance to do that. We will have a friend, as you guys know, we will have somebody in Washington who cares about the same thing that we care about. So I just try to encourage all of our people to make sure we go out in big numbers. And I'm like the late John Lewis said, vote like you never voted before. And let me finish by saying this, Doc, and team, is that when you look at the news, you see people voting like they never voted before. That is encouraging. Over 20 million people have voted already, and people are standing in long lines, for 8 hours to vote. So they're like Fannie Lou Hamer. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and so they're getting out and vote. So it's pretty encouraging to see that's happening. So I'm pretty excited about the whole thing right now. We only got a few days left. So
anybody else?
I just want to say this one thing. It has been my lifelong goal to help people to see how powerful their voice is. And sometimes that voice is the vote, but then that gives you courage to vote for something else, like our school districts. And I say it starts all with education. I'm an educator, so I'm going to stress how important it is to have favorable people in the office who believes. And when it comes to Espy, if you look at his past record, how he brought money into the rural area schools who are still suffering today. It's so imperative that you use what you have, and that's your voice. So please use your voice. Let's make change. Let's make the change, because we can see now at the current state of our economy, at the current state of our crime being at the ultimate high, we need change. We need some reputable people in office. We do. Humanity has to come back.
Thank you so much. I don't want to hold you all too long, but I definitely want to say that when I go to the polls on November the 3rd, I'm going to cast my vote on behalf of Emmett Till. I'm going to cast my vote on behalf of the 4 little girls in Birmingham that will never be able to vote. I'm going to cast my vote on behalf of Medgar Evers, who was murdered because he was registering people to vote. I'm going to cast my vote on behalf of the 3 civil rights workers that were murdered in Neshoba County. I'm going to cast my vote for Jimmy Lee Jackson and John Lewis and all the others that lost their lives during Bloody Sunday so that we could have the Voter Rights Act. So I just want people to think about something bigger than themselves. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to cast my vote for Fannie Lou Hamer because she's sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired.
Woo! I feel the ancestors in the room. I don't know about you all.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
just call their names. Just
Thank
take
you.
a minute and call their names of somebody that you want to remember, like Bob Moses. Let me
Breonna
hear some of
Taylor,
them names. Breonna
George
Taylor,
Floyd.
George Floyd. I think everybody a little full right now.
Yeah, yeah. Lost a lot of people this year.
Yep.
I want to cast my votes on behalf of my students who would still be here if we had an adequate school system in place and they had the help and the constant compassion. You know, it's just not all about education, it's the whole child, educating the whole child. We lose so many children early. And as educators, I know if you've ever educated in a school building, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can see the changes in them. And it's not because they chose to be that way. It's because, you know, you can't choose who you're born to or what environment you're in.
Yeah. Yes.
So for those babies who have lost their life because they didn't have anybody to look up to, because we have failed them tremendously in the state of Mississippi with the lowest readability levels. We have no early childhood in the state of Mississippi. That means students are not even mandated to come to school until first grade. So many of our babies come in school not even knowing how to hold a pencil. And that is still happening right now.
Doc,
Yeah.
let me I just want to say that you know, we voting for the 200,000 people who've lost their lives during this pandemic in this country and millions around the world because of lack of leadership. And just a few days ago, I lost a close friend, 50 years old, who lost his battle with COVID. And here in my community, now I got family members who is hospitalized right now as we speak, fighting this battle. And I am a survivor of the COVID-19 myself. And when you go into the holidays, somebody gonna have some missing seats around their table because our president failed to tell us stuff he knew back in February about this virus. It just breaks my heart. So we need to cast our vote for leadership. We need somebody to want for the people of this country the same thing they want for themselves. That's a better quality of life. And it is the president's job to protect us as citizens of this country. So that's another reason I'd be casting my vote come November the 3rd.
Thank you.
Wow. Any final thoughts? I want to, like I said, I want to appreciate you all for jumping on.
Say,
Go ahead,
I want to
Pat.
say that I want to cast my vote for the number of people sitting in jail today because they sold a dime bag of marijuana. And I hope that we can see some justice reform with the whole legalizing it, because there are too many people. And of course, we already know who's disenfranchised when it comes to those kinds of things. So I want to see fathers get to get another start in their life and be able to be a part of their children's life and be a part of the community and not have to spend unreasonable time in jail for things that others didn't have to choose to get that option with. That's what I want to see.
Thank you, Pat. Powerful.
My final thought is vote like your life depends on it, because so many lives do. So many lives do. So many people lost their lives to give us the right to vote. Not just blacks, but women also. So vote like your life depends on it.
Very good. Anybody else? Well, we thank you all for tuning in. This has been an excellent conversation, you guys. I would like to have this conversation up until the election. Somebody needs to hear this. Somebody don't know who to vote for or why they vote for the person they're voting for. And so if we could just give somebody some information, then I think we are doing a little bit of what we were put here to do. And so with that being said, I'm going to take us out of here. Thank you all so much for.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you guys. God bless you.
I hope you all see you all again.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
To stay informed about what's happening right here in Jackson, Mississippi, keep it locked to A View from the SIP.